right.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Chestnut Checkers. I am Keith Riddle, here with my co-host, as usual, Jordan Tampien. Mm-hmm. And today we're here with Chris Batten. Chris.
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Good. Glad to have you.
Thanks for having me.
I know.
Thanks for making the time to come down here.
Yeah, I thought Bobby was going to make me come to his, and I said, you can just go. You can do it yourself.
Oh, I told Keith, I said, I have to get Bobby Unchained. Yes. I need the one where it's just Bobby leaning back in his chair telling us about the good old days.
Yeah. It was a great episode.
It was great. Yeah. And it's the side of him. I meet with him once a month, and I'm like, it's the side I hadn't heard of, like some of the stories. And
it was
kind of how I got up. Yeah, so it was awesome. So, context: Chris is the genius behind Bobby's development. And
I'm the muscle.
The muscle.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm the brain. I just do all the work.
So true.
So I always start off usually asking, Spokane native?
Born and raised. Yep.
Born and raised. Yep. Nice. What was that like?
Oh, it was great. Fabulous. I loved being born in Spokane, raised in Spokane. Went to Ferris on South Hill. Went to Hutton.
Ferris,
You know, so
a lot of Ferris guys on the show.
It was great. I loved it.
Nice. And so give me a little bit of backstory into how you ended up being a developer into politics or Spokane Business Association or any of the other things.
No, not in politics.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Not in politics.
Right.
I think the job title comes with politics.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't insinuate you were a politician. Just
well, I have to deal with the politics.
Yeah, there we go. That's a better way to put it.
No, I actually when I graduated from Ferris, I went straight into the Navy. I spent almost 5 years in the Navy. Got out and came back to Spokane, and really the only thing I'd ever knew was working on my parents' rental properties as a kid growing up. And so, every weekend we'd go pick up cigarette butts in the parking lot type thing, and work on the properties. So started getting back into that when I got out of the Navy. And actually, the first job I had when I got back was I went to work for the Spokane Housing Authority, of all the things. Yeah. I was a housing inspector for the Housing Authority, which was pretty eye-opening.
Let's do the Lord's work there.
Yeah. I was super young. Well, I was like 24, so a little naive at that point, But so I did that for a year or two, and then I finally decided that it was either going to do my own thing, or if I was going to go work for anybody, the only place I'd ever go work was Wells and Company, and so I just committed to go get hired by Ron, and I walked in one day and walked out with a job, and I was managing their properties. So
nice. That was circa
97.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did the steam plant back in the day.
Yeah.
And I was the leasing agent on that, which was super cool.
Were you part of the development of it with him?
More the management side, the leasing side. I was involved in the conversations, but I didn't have a role.
Yeah.
So
the steam plant, man, that was, I don't know. For me personally, that was one of the first transformations of an old building like that I'd seen, where I was like, "This is super cool."
Oh, yeah, it did great. Well, it was less of a renovation than it was a remediation project,
right. Yeah.
Because it was part of Vista's oil remediation project, and so they had, I wouldn't say unlimited funds, but they had money behind it to actually do it and do it right, and so that's why it came out as well as it did. I think.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sweet. I think I had an aunt that worked up in one of those upper offices for a while, and like the catwalks and stuff. It was cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's one of the coolest buildings still in Spokane.
Oh, it is.
It's just the most inefficient building in Spokane.
From like
I wouldn't want the
utility bills.
That's what I told Jerry. I said, "Glad you bought it. This is great."
No thanks. Yeah.
Nice. So take me forward from there. So you're working for Ron Wells. How many properties were you managing at that point?
Well, they're I don't remember how many they had.
Oh, but you weren't personally managing like all of them. You were one of the property managers.
No, I managed all the proproperties.
Oh, you did.
For them, the steam plant, the San Marco, Edwidge, Myrtle, all those back in the day. Everything they had on kind of the west end down there. Kind of just down by Brick West.
Yeah, it's pretty much all picture all of them around the San Marco, the coolest one I think, with just the angled, and then right behind it, Buena Vista, San Marco, and then the Myrtle. But what's the one you own? The person, the Eldridge. Or Edwidge on the other side.
So I did that for a couple of years with them. So
nice.
Yeah. So when did you start cutting your teeth in development? Is just one of those, you're around Ron, he's developing, and you're like, I can do this.
I can do this. Yeah.
Well,
actually, he taught me a lot, honestly.
Yeah.
And it was hard to leave. It's just it was a ceiling. You weren't going to go anywhere. So I figured I was just going to do my own thing at that point. So I quit on September 10th, 2001. Okay. Nice. My wife was 9 months pregnant. Okay. And I woke up the next morning and the world had ended, 9/11.
Man.
And I was like, I don't have a job. My wife's 9 months pregnant. What am I doing? So that was when RenCorp started.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
And then RenCorp, you guys built a pretty prominent reputation for you guys, for yourselves of also doing like very similar stuff, right? Like renovating old buildings and restoring them and keeping them. I think I like a lot of the brick facades and all of like a really cool, interiors and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm just reminiscing now, but like as a young agent, I can remember going in RenCorp properties and being like, you kind of knew.
That's cool. You make me feel real old.
No, I'm
a child
old,
just
right?
out of high school.
No, it's about 20 years or so ago, 2005, 2004. But yeah, always had a really unique feel and a really cool vibe.
Yeah, so. Did he kind of hone your skills on that? Because I've seen a Ron Wells renovation. I've seen a Chris Batten renovation. They're different.
I don't know. Everybody's got their own flavor, right? And you learn over the course of years. But so we did that. And the first project we did the, I didn't have any money. I had 10 grand to my name. Honestly, I don't know what I was thinking. I was a brand new baby and 10 grand to my name. We didn't come from, it's not like there was money, right? So the first project we did is we bought the Gables Apartments over on Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
That old Kirtland Cutter row house building.
Yep.
It was burned out and boarded up. And, we got a city home fund loan, I think for like 250 grand. Yeah. And we went in and did the work. Yeah. And so that was the first project we did.
And then did you have your own construction at that time, or were you kind of just overseeing it and then kind of?
Yeah, we've always kind of had our own construction, whether it was just two people, that grew into 20 or whatever it is. But, we always started out doing the work ourselves. So
yeah. Still one of the coolest ones to date was the auto lofts. So Lindsay, my sister-in-law, lived in the one. It had this like glass atrium, the coolest. It's right by Barrister Winery. And so when did you start the foray into for sale product? Was that kind of just a natural piece, or was the idea behind that to build them and rent them initially?
Well, I didn't have any money.
Yeah,
right?
so that's how you get.
That's how you do it, right? You gotta turn them. And so when we did the auto lofts, that's where I met Bobby. So that used to be the old Pella Window building, and Sterling Bank had foreclosed on it. They'd taken it back. It was on the wrong side of the tracks. They really didn't want anything to do with it. And so somehow I convinced him. I said, hey, well, let me take a crack at it. I don't have any money to buy it, but if I could pre-sell condos, would you guys carry the paper and finance the deal? And so, we did, this was back before Craigslist, but we put a little line ad in the Spokesman Review in the classified section. It says downtown open house, downtown lofts. And we had we went in there because there was no warehouse building, and we chalked out the units. Okay. And then we had an open house and we pre-sold all the units, and basically, it was, other than Blue Chip, it was the second one downtown. Right? Yeah. Blue Chip, Blue Chip and Lambert, Candy Factory, Jim Colva. Those are the two original downtown kind of industrial loft condos. And auto lofts would have been the third. Yeah. But, we went and pre-sold them all that night and had, 4 or 5 reservations deep. And, Bobby's one came down and he bought a unit.
Yeah. That's right.
That's how I met him.
What was that? Circa
2005.
Yeah. Market was pretty hot then.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
Then did you guys do the rail side ones too?
We did the rail side. Yep. We kind of co-developed it, but we built it as the contractor, and then a group out of Seattle actually was the developer. So that was a fun one.
So which one's your favorite one to date?
Favorite one? Oh, I don't know. I love the Edge. The Edge was super cool. That was the old Western Soap building on Sprague down the street here.
Yeah. Is it kind of green in color right there? And then that one is cool.
Yeah, I painted it green because everybody was saying you got to do a green building. And I'm like, all right, I'll do a green building. I painted green.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's why it's green. So,
that's super funny.
Edge was super fun.
Yeah, you did a good job on that one too. Yeah, actually, I think that's a common theme. You do a good job on all your buildings.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
What have you kind of found as the biggest? I mean, you're a believer in downtown. I mean, you were my inspiration to even be downtown. But what have you seen kind of the biggest change from those first few projects to kind of the current environment we have? Start one, what is that change? Biggest noticeable. And then 2, how have you adapted your development around that?
Are you talking about as far as downtown environment goes?
Let's just go down. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I keep telling everybody we're bouncing along the bottom right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's the worst place to be because we're not good. I don't think it's getting worse.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not getting better. And so, kind of from our perspective, there's an opportunity right now. And so we've bought a few buildings, but just the general, if you go back to 16, 17, downtown was hopping, man.
It felt good.
It was good. It was fun, and you went in to work every day. You were just glad to be down there.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge these days. And we moved up on Second Avenue, right over by where Jordan was at.
So when did you see the biggest shift from that time period? 16, 17, it was hopping, people liking it. Was it COVID?
COVID was basically shut down when it shut down. It just then all of a sudden people weren't working down there, and then other people came in that shouldn't have been there and creating all sorts of havoc and stuff.
So do you think it was a lot of policy? I'm sure it was somewhat. Or do you think it was just the sheer COVID shutdown and then it just never came back?
Well, really, the real thing was the Blake decision from the state, where effectively decriminalized drugs.
So walk me through that. When was that?
Blake would have been in 2020, right? I think right at the beginning of COVID, and that's
were the two things. Was it? They had nothing to do with each other, really, right?
Yeah,
it was just
unrelated, and just
a poor decision at a poor time, right?
And effectively, the state passed emergency legislation decriminalizing drugs, decriminalizing them, because it went from a felony down to a misdemeanor. And when they did an emergency ordinance, what that does is it takes it out of the people's hand. The people can't do a referendum to overturn it. So it is the law. At least in Oregon, they put it to the people and the people voted for it. Here it was kind of foisted on us. And I think ever since that day, downtown has just gone down to just it's been trouble.
Been trouble ever since. And what was the basis for that decision? Do you remember?
It was a search and seizure issue, if I recall.
It was.
Yeah. And so it's been a while, and I don't remember the particulars, but basically, it was a possession and search and seizure.
It was whether it was on the person.
Yeah.
And it was in somebody's coat, and then he argued, I think it was something like that. I argued the coat wasn't his.
Yeah.
But he had the drugs on him. It was in the coat. And then it was
so
how they had got the...
And they could have fixed at the legislature. They could have fixed it without passing a whole new law, and they could have just put the word knowingly into the existing legislation, and it would have been fine. But they actually went and decriminalized it and made it a misdemeanor. So it may have been a gross misdemeanor, but still
not. There's not really much punch to it.
Yeah, and I do think a lot of the troubles that we see downtown. I don't personally, and I've always felt this, I don't believe that a lot of these people are from Spokane. They come here because it's easy to be here, which is kind of counterintuitive, really. It gets cold here. I don't know why people want to be here. No. You have to think about that, right? So it must be just the policies that we have is just making it easy.
Yeah. And do you see that shifting?
I do. Yeah. I do. I think, like I said, we're kind of at the bottom. I think things only get better from here. And I think it's going to change. I don't know what it takes. I'm hoping that, the city passed Prop 1, 75%, and that's a big deal. And, the current administration and council don't want to enforce it.
Yeah. So walk me through that too. So we have the Blake decision, right? We're talking 2020, things start getting bad, but then the citizens vote, right, for Prop 1. When does Prop 1 pass?
2023.
2023. And then I think we started this podcast last winter, but I felt like things were getting better, for a while there, but then they shifted right back.
They just didn't enforce. Well, they immediately overturned it, basically locally.
So I think it passed in November 2023, and then it took them a while to implement it, and they started implementing it in August, and then it went from the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional, and not because they did it on basically a technicality, where they said, this is an administrative thing, not a legislative thing. And, you can't apparently do referendums that are administrative. That's the city's job. They have to administer the laws rather than, so that's why it got overturned. Now, council could very easily have adopted it word for word.
Could have passed their own thing,
passed
right?
it and said, hey, okay, great. This is what the people want. But they didn't do that.
Yeah.
What does Prop 1 specifically state?
It's basically, I think it's no illegal camping, within schools and parks and
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet of schools and parks and
daycares.
Daycares.
All the things you shouldn't have people camping in front of.
Well, I would make the argument that you probably shouldn't camp on any sidewalk or curb
public right away.
Being that it's public. Regardless of a school or a daycare or anybody else is there. I just don't know when that became a thing. I don't.
Well, we just
Uh,
until last August or 3 months ago, we had pedestrian interference and
Yep.
sit and lie, and basically they eliminated effectively both of those tools. And so I think when I say it's not getting any worse, I mean it's gotten worse since August.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, that's
so,
what I've noticed that recently.
right, and
Okay.
the last 3 months, and fortunately, I think they're seeing it, they're understanding it, and I think they came out with new legislation
Today, right?
and I haven't seen it yet. That's supposed to help remedy that. We'll see.
Yeah, to give cops more discretion and
So what does pedestrian interference mean?
sleeping on the sidewalk, blocking.
Blocking the
Blocking
sidewalk.
sidewalk.
Yeah. So it's you've got sit and lie, which basically means you cannot sit or lie on a sidewalk.
Right.
Okay, but then you got pedestrian interference, and the challenge with pedestrian interference is as long as you can walk around them, it's fine. But if they're blocking the entirety of the sidewalk, then it becomes pedestrian interference. So
Okay.
sit and lie was the better tool
Right.
because it just encompassed everything.
Yeah.
You couldn't be propped up against the Nordstroms sitting on the sidewalk with
Correct.
sit and lie. You had to move on. So
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that's the only hard part. It just seems in my head so common sense, but
what's interesting is Emily Cameron said something the other day, and it just dawned on me the way she said it was basically, we need these laws downtown because our properties are at the right of way.
it's the front porch.
It's the front porch. It's not like there's a whole yard in between to trespass somebody off of, right? It's the moment they step off of it, they're on our property.
Yeah.
So, that's why they can't be laying on the sidewalks. People need to be able to walk freely, get from point A to point B.
Well, not only that, but as a property owner, I am responsible for upkeeping the sidewalk, right?
Yeah.
If there's a big
Trees.
heave in the sidewalk and someone
Oh.
riding a skateboard out here, smashes their teeth because there's a big heave sidewalk, I could be sued,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like the street trees, I'm not allowed to touch them.
Oh yeah, I was
Right?
about to divert us for
Can't-
1 second on the article that came out about street trees.
Well,
and,
it's just-
and I'm like, oh, let's just focus on people sleeping. Like 3 of my trees are dead because we were required to put plugins. Well, guess what happens with a plug-in? 3 people hover around that thing, turn heaters on, live next to the thing, and then all of a sudden my trees are dead.
Yeah.
And I was like, we just have to focus in all the wrong spots
Well,
sometimes.
they'll just walk by and break them off.
Yeah.
I mean, snap a brand new tree, and those trees are $1,000 a piece.
Oh, yeah.
Well, plus the right of way, plus the
The permit, you're going to spend $3,500 to $4,500 to replace at least the ones, because we had to put those custom grates on them too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it's hard because I see that, and I see like that. You see the one side of legislation that, yeah, of course we want a good canopy, of course we want walkable communities, of course we want all those pieces. It's just then we have this other side of a small contingent of people that ruin that ability to do it. Like Brick West, even I feel like we have a pretty good area down there for the
it's
most
gorgeous.
part, right?
Yep.
But every morning, still at 6 o'clock, there's people sleeping in there, no matter how many no sleeping signs. But why they're plugged in the outlet. And finally, I just started talking to them like, hey, let's meet a middle here. At least be out here by 7, like, and clean up your stuff.
Have you noticed a change in the neighborhood since City Gate shut down?
Yeah, there's far less traffic.
Yeah.
It was one of the better kind of moves. So we'll get a couple, and it's only because the outlet, literally, if we had a charging station somewhere, the most people are like, we wander out of our way because this is the one spot I can charge and not sit on a sidewalk and be kicked off.
Right. Yeah, I noticed the trees over in the dog park across the street actually have outlets too, but
Yep.
I think they've all been ripped out.
They ripped them out, yeah.
Yeah.
And then on ours, I'm like, yeah, but if you just need to charge, like it is better than you sitting on a sidewalk doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, just clean up. I'm tired of cleaning this up. And I think that where you get, and I don't know what I was reading, but is that you're going to hit businesses at a breaking point at some point. It's going to be vigilante style at some point. Like we're both on 2nd Ave. That is a highway, and it's just like every morning we have a maintenance person cleaning up after.
Yep.
And I was like, you're just going to hit a point where a business who's barely making it, already spending enough, doesn't have money for security, and all of a sudden it's going to be that one time they have to then clean it up, or that one group sleeping in front of there, or that one thing. And I feel like that's what we've gotten to, is that everybody is pushed so far to the breaking point of it's just going to take the straw that breaks the camel's back. And hopefully we find a solution before then. But I could just see how more and more people get pushed to that point.
Well, for us, I mean, the challenge for us is, I think we own properties at 10 out of the 12 viaducts immediately adjacent. Holly Mason,
That's
Europa, Luminaria, all these buildings are immediately right up against the tracks. And that's tough because, the tracks are kind of a no man's zone. their Burlington property, right? And the bid only goes to the north side of the tracks. They don't really include the tracks.
And the bid being the business improvement district.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to the DSP's credit, they've taken ownership of those as best they can, even though they don't have funding to do it, but they
Yeah.
do it because they know they have to.
Yeah.
You know, but just having those properties right along the tracks, I think, you know, from our perspective, I think, you know, when we have as many properties as we have downtown, and they're all kind of off the beaten path, they're not the high end right
Mhm.
down on Main necessarily, right? You know, we're kind of disproportionately impacted, I think, sometimes. So
Yeah.
we're in this all day long, every day. It's 20% of what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. Is
Yeah.
dealing
You
with
had the
challenges.
viaduct on one and City Gate on the other.
Yeah.
On one of the coolest buildings downtown, the Illuminary Building.
Yeah. So it's a challenge for sure. But
So if you could wave your magic wand and implement one thing, what would it be? Like that would help address this.
well, I do think one thing that we've actually just gotten through is the high utilizer.
Explain that one. A little
So
more.
basically, the city's setting aside 10 beds at the county
Oh, yep.
jail for those repeat offenders. Okay, those kind of what I always call kind of frequent flyers.
Yeah.
You know, the ones
Mhm.
20% or 20 of the people are causing 80% of the
Correct.
problem downtown.
Correct.
You know, and that's from the criminality standpoint. That's the breaking the windows, kind of the graffiti, those types of things.
Yeah.
But PD knows who those folks are, right? And so, you know, they're gonna go spend time in the jail.
Yeah.
You know, because they're chronic offenders. So I think that's a big piece of it.
Yeah.
You know, truly, for me, the biggest piece downtown, if I had to pick one thing, I
Yeah.
think community court's a mess. I don't think
Yeah.
community court's working. There's no accountability whatsoever. I don't know. When was the last time either of you guys been down to the library?
Oh, I haven't.
The
Mm,
library is a day
Yeah.
shelter.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, and that's where they have community court. But
Oh, they host it in the library.
they do.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Is that-
for some of our listeners, explain what community court is, because I'm roughly, I have a vague idea, but essentially it was an idea to help out our court system by providing a community style court, not to clog up the other court system.
yeah, I think it's
Right.
been around since 2013,
13, yeah,
something like
that's
that. Yeah, it's to deal with those low level citations, more or less. You know, with the sit in lines, pedestrian interference, you know, those types of things. They don't deal with felonies, right? But you know, they should be able to, you know, after going to community court or getting a citation, going to community court, most of them don't show up,
Yeah.
frankly, and even the ones that do, they usually get them dismissed. And so after you've been there 5, 6, 8, 10 times and they keep getting dismissed, what's the point of even going?
Yeah.
You know, there has to be some accountability. And in my mind, you know, and Major Ken over the Salvation Army
Yeah.
said it best: is you have to have accountability and you have to have compassion at the same
Yeah.
time, and treatment, engagement. But it's an either or. It's you go left or you go right. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't be out in the public right away harassing people, sleeping on the sidewalks, and creating havoc.
Yeah.
You know, you're either going to get the help that you need, and if you don't, then you need to go. You know, there has to be a place for you to go because you can't be on the streets.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because it takes one of the best buildings, I think, in Spokane, maybe not design wise, but like location, the library, and just turns it into this eyesore that then kind of trickles onto everything else.
Yeah, I challenge you to go down there. I mean, you wouldn't take your 11-year-old daughter down there,
No, I took her once.
did you?
That's all. Yeah, between the needle lights in the bathrooms
Yeah.
and the amount of people. I mean, it's an eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
My walk in the morning goes by there, so then I talked a bunch. But you have one of the coolest viewpoints, I think, of a river in most cities.
Yep.
Getting decimated on one side on the falls. Anyways, that's a whole nother story. And then you have these lines that queue up 45 minutes to an hour before, and I'm like, of all the spots, like it's like a city gate. I mean, it's essentially just queues up and then it filters out around there. And I think we have the ability to bring people in. We have a great tourist city. I mean, we're just could be a great city, and then just that's your black eye. And so it's that compassion and accountability piece you're talking about, but there's just none.
Think about it. I mean, so SBA had Dr. Marbut here, and he did his own point in time count. Basically, went around. I spent a week out surveying individuals who are on the streets and people who are at various different facilities, trying to figure out who they are, where they came from, and why they're here.
Yeah.
And when you find out, according to that, 70% of the people aren't from Spokane, then you really have to start wondering, okay, well, what are we doing? Are we attracting people here? Why are we attracting people here? I would say that study has been largely disregarded by most.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll look at the point in time count that the city does and say that's best practices. I think anytime anybody says best practices, I think you got to be a little bit weary of what they're saying. But
trigger word from like I'm right, don't question it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. This is how everybody does.
This
it,
is
right?
one of the best practices.
But you know, if you were to assume for 1 second that could it be right? Is it even possible that it's right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something that you'd want to fix like right away, or try to figure out what's
Obviously a
causing
reason.
this?
Or why is it so wildly inaccurate?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I mean, just have an honest conversation. Don't just disregard it out of hand,
Yeah.
you know. But say, okay, well, because if it has any plausibility, any truth whatsoever, that's got to be a big part of the problem. And then we have to figure out how do we reconnect people with their families and where they're from, and you know, get them the resources they need in their own communities.
Yeah, I got summaries. I wasn't able to make the SBA event, but I got summaries of the kind of what he talked about. I was talking to you, right? About what the ex-Boise mayor said.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're missing.
Yep.
We don't have a holistic approach. We just like shoot this like shotgun out there.
Well, it
And every once in a while it
it
hits
changes
somebody,
every 6
sometimes-
weeks,
Yeah.
you know, and every 3 months. Now you try something new, see if it works. But
Yeah. Do you
well,
think,
it was very direct. I don't know, very direct, but it was fairly obvious, right? He's like, connect them back with family, let them seek treatment or provide them treatment options, or cite them, right? Like that was kind of his three-prong approach. And he said it kind of goes a third of about a third of them get reconnected with family, and about a third of them seek treatment, and about a third of them, you know, due to the citations, will move on. And I think that's the aha for me, was like, because this is not my world, right? I don't live in this world, like fixing these problems world, right? I happen to live in like have an office downtown, so you live in the world, but like I don't know how to fix these problems. But you start listening to people talking, like, well, that kind of makes sense. But the one thing that was the biggest aha for me is he's like, they're not interested in your programs, right? Like the people that are here, and they open drug use and sleeping on the streets, and if that's the lifestyle they're choosing, and they don't want to be reconnected with family or seek treatment, then they're not interested in any other programs. They can throw all the programs in the world at them, and they're like, no, I want to be left alone so I can do my drugs and sleep on the street. Like that's what they want. And so I think that's what you're giving them, what they want, without citing them, right?
Yeah.
Like you're
or having any
and
accountability.
then everybody's
for
like,
it.
well, I don't understand. It's like, well, the way he explained it made a lot of sense. I'm like, well, now I understand.
And then
right?
go to
like,
Boise.
right?
Like
And then you
it's
go to
not
Boise.
just saying it, right? That city is the example of
well,
that.
and I will tell you, having met him outside of the SBA
Oh, yeah.
dinner, he was stunned. I mean, he could not believe it. I mean,
Really?
he did a really good job on stage of kind of, you know, containing that and,
Rah-rah.
and trying to be, you know, respectful as best as I think he could. But I think he was stunned when he got down. You know, and I have you been to Boise lately?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I know you
Yeah,
have,
a
but
lot, yeah.
you know, it's day and night. If people haven't been there, they don't understand the difference.
You don't even know it's possible.
It's like
Yeah.
walking back in time.
Oh yeah.
Like you kind of walked and you're like, oh, I remember this.
Yeah.
Like you could just walk around and it was like
you don't
safe
even
and
think
clean
about it.
and
It's not even a
nice.
thought. Like I'll go out and like midnight. You're not even thinking
No.
about it. There's not even a thought that you're like, oh man, I should gotta be careful or I gotta watch out for it's and every street's clean, every business. Because what we should be focusing on is how do we grow our businesses? How do we rehabilitate these buildings and bring more people here? Instead, we spend 90% of our time of like, all right, guys, we got to change perception now because we have this shit show down here
Yep.
that we're trying to solve. Instead of like getting creative when you have an asset like downtown, that should be like expanded on and built on. And it's like instead we're just trying to convince people to come down and eat. Like,
Yeah, it's and I love Boise, and I will say I don't think Boise has anything on us
No.
as far as
no.
you know, the park, the river. I mean,
The food scene. I think we have a great food
Yeah,
scene. The
I mean,
brewery, all the things.
we've got such good bones.
Yeah, and the new entertainment with the stadium
Yeah.
and all the stuff. Like
Right.
we have a better version. It's just like
totally.
sucks watching your kid that doesn't live up to potential or something. It's like, come on, let's pull
We
our
can do
stuff
this.
together.
You know, the crazy thing is, I think that the basics are there.
Yeah.
You know, the underlying infrastructure is there, the bones are there. That you know, if we had the right policies and we were committed to them,
Mhm.
then I think we could turn it around pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
honestly,
sure.
You know, I think one of the things that I like the most about Jordan is, I mean, you've been an internal optimist, you know,
Always.
and no, honestly, I
I'm
mean,
just glad that I met someone that likes Jordan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
This is
No,
the first on
46
air. He said
episodes.
it on air.
no, I mean, he's always just kind of a champion for downtown, kind of,
Mhm.
and it's hard to do, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
My mother always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So I don't say a lot most of the time, but, just putting a positive spin on things is important because
Yeah.
people need to know that downtown it is safe.
Yeah.
And there's so much going on downtown, and we want people downtown.
Yeah.
The last thing we needed to be doing is scaring them away.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you hit the nail on the head. But like, as far as our listeners are concerned, or people hearing this, is like it's hard to talk about these issues without scaring people away. And I think that as people that own buildings downtown or that live downtown, we're talking about the gripe of like the things we have to deal with. But on a daily basis, yes, there's a lot of sunshine and good things going on downtown. And it is. I mean, I walk downtown all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that scary. I mean, we're not talking about Gotham City or something,
Well,
right?
you're obviously taking a right once you get to Division and then coming through down on Main, right? You're not taking Pacific and then working your way down.
And I do walk down there or ride a Lime scooter, but I think we've had this conversation before of like, I am a fairly healthy adult male who like probably isn't as threatened by some of the garbage that I have to walk past, right? What I'm sad for is my 12-year-old daughter. What I'm sad for is my wife and my 4-year-old son. Like, right? Like there's a big difference between me walking downtown, and going to get lunch and how I feel than just, a mom getting out of her car with her 2 kids to go meet a friend for lunch, right? Like that's a whole different vibe. Yeah. That's what I'm sad about, right? It's like everybody should be able to enjoy downtown. Yeah. Not just people who feel safe going down there, right? Like everybody should feel safe going down there.
Well, I think, some of the biggest challenges are Division being the gateway into downtown. Yeah. Now I'll say it's better today than it was a year ago when Cat was sitting there right at, on the corner of 2nd Division. Mm-hmm. That was really, really bad. Yeah. But definitely it could be much better than it is, but that's a challenge. But really what people don't talk a lot about is what do people see when they leave Spokane? What's the last thing they see is going to be a lasting impression. Mm-hmm. They're driving up Brown. Yeah. They get on the freeway and what do they see? They see all the havoc going on under the underpass. They see what's the activity on Pacific. They get to 2nd and Brown and they see the Les Schwab building. Those windows have been busted out of that building for 4 years.
Yeah, I'm surprised he doesn't have to fix those. Huh? I'm surprised he doesn't have to fix those.
Well, you know how many times I've sent stuff to code enforcement, sent stuff to Mayor Nadine, Mayor Brown, code enforcement what is going on? This is the last thing people see when they leave downtown is this boarded up, busted up, window broken. It's crazy. Yeah. It just doesn't leave a good impression on people.
Yeah. I will always I love downtown. So like this weekend I have planned, I got a Chiefs game. So we're going to, buddy are bringing both our daughters and go to that on Friday night, 7:05 start time. Then you got a Velocity game Saturday, got that Zephyr game Sunday, got brunch. You got a couple.
How much longer does that season go?
The
Velocity and the Zephyr.
So Velocity's almost done. We got 4 more games. Zephyr goes until a break and then they start. And so it's like there's just so many things. And then I go on my morning walks. You're catching 2 of the greatest walk through the park. I grab my coffee and I'm like, this is something people would love. But to the point is like I don't think about when I go by myself. It's when I take Logan with me. Then I'm looking down. I'm like, just please don't jump or move. Like, I don't know. I just don't know what they're going to do. Right. And so I think that's been one of the kind of pieces for me is like, how do we highlight something that needs addressed without making that the whole conversation? Yep. And so I think what I try to do is divert it to the projects you're doing. I'm excited for those. I want to hear kind of thoughts on your Umpqua purchase, but like, but it's like, what are things that we can highlight and really show that side of it? And because I look at Brick West, all I'm doing is I'm taking micro incubator spaces. All right, if we can do it to a small neighborhood, we can do it there. So what does Brick West have? It has great building owners all around it. The whole area from you guys, Bobby, Wells, Scott, even right there. It has limited access. It's like there's no destination there, right? You got the ridge on one side. There's no like services down on that end. And then we have a very active space. And then it's surrounded by residential. And that's what works, right? So I can be at Lolo Lofts, look down and be like, nope, that's not acceptable. Call into 311, walk down there myself, and you have people take ownership of downtown again. Outside of just the building owner who's trying to preserve their investment, we have like individuals that are like, that's not acceptable.
It's crazy to think that, but that West End, I mean, that's the place to be today.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
But people don't remember, I mean, it's been a long time
Didn't used to be,
1995 when the old Greyhound bus station was down there. That was as bad as it got. That was the rough part of town back then. And that, Wells came in and he fixed up the Buena Vista, the San Marco and all those, and he came and did the Eldridge and stuff. So, I mean, that has been a neighborhood that has been a transition for 25 years. And then you guys do Brick West, and it's basically drop the mic, and it's an awesome neighborhood.
Yeah, I love
You
it.
know?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. And so then it's like, okay, can you take that pocket to Peyton, right? So it's going to start with one, but then the next ones, you're never going to solve it by putting one building. Kind of what we were talking with Rob about in the McKinley School. He was like, well, I can't just do the McKinley School. Then it's just nice building in the middle of a ton of terrible buildings, right?
But there's the rising tide theory too. Now McKinley School's isolated property, right? I mean, so he could do that, and then what else is going to happen around him? But you know, you look down on West First. It was one person did one building. You know, Jim Colva did Lambert. You know, then Blue Chip happened, and then Auto Lofts. It's that rising tide of, you know, people coming in behind people and just kind of riding on their success.
Yeah, and believing in it, right? And I think what we're losing is just that belief. It's getting beaten out. It's like if I put $1, I mean, Peyton's by far, I risked most everything I have to do the Peyton.
Yep.
And then you watch, and it's a factor I can't even control on the outside that you're looking in saying, please just make the right decision here. Do we not want this kind of thing? And then pushing forward. But I think if you can do those parts right and just start taking sections and cleaning it up, because the issue is just going to displace. It doesn't solve anything. It's just going to displace to another area. And it's like, we still need that kind of enforcement, or at least that policy that helps us enforce.
We need to get boots on the ground, more bodies downtown. You know, the DSP just came out with the housing study.
Yeah.
What's interesting is most people don't realize this, that 40% of the housing units downtown are rent restricted. Okay. Yeah. But 70% of the homes or households from 70% of the households are at or below 80% AMI.
70%?
70%. Oh, and of that 70, 40% are at or below 30%. Yeah. Okay, so there's a it's out of whack. It's not a healthy environment. In most cities, they're going to say that, you know, it should be an 80-20. 20% are rent restricted. 80% are market. That's a healthy market. So it's not a healthy balance right now. So the housing study came out and said, basically, to get in balance, we need 3,200 more market rate units.
So
to
by
get into
rent,
balance.
It means you got to get to work, Chris.
we got to double what we already have.
So, but it just for the listeners, by rent restricted, you mean they are being offered at a discount
or required, either subsidies or rent restricted, where you can't charge any more than X number of dollars.
Gotcha. And what would cause something to be rent restricted?
You know, various different programs. I mean, they're either
it was built or renovated under a guise that they agreed to those terms.
I mean, I can think of like the home program is a rent restricted program. You know, you think of, well, most of those units are probably going to fall under you know, that Catholic Charities you know, Housing First model projects. Those are all rent restricted.
How many units is that?
I don't know. I think I got 5 buildings. 5 or 6.
Probably 600 units, right?
Yeah, that's a big chunk.
And then you have the 2 affordable senior projects. Those are both big projects, the 2 towers.
Yep.
I mean, with those 2 alone.
Well, they
you have the one right by
the Delaney.
Yep, Delaney too.
Yep. And so there's just right now, it's out of whack. There's a disproportionate number of very low income. 40% of the population is at or below 30% area median income. That's just not healthy.
Do you see many of them happening kind of like the Carlisle, converting over at some point? Like, I mean, I don't love the location, but that many units taken off and put on as some kind of market housing would be good. On Second Ave, right by, kind of down by Chris and I's office over there.
I don't know. The Rid Path obviously has rent restrictions. That'd be a good one right there, right?
A great one.
You know, if you could figure that one out. But any other current, I doubt any of the Catholic charity properties ever get converted. You know, so I think it's, at this point, it's just adding new product. You know, and 3,200, that's a lot.
It's a lot of units. I mean, for reference, Peyton is 96.
Yep.
And I think it's a massive building.
So it's like
it's a really big project.
It's like 30 of them.
You would need 32 Peytons. Yeah.
So, but you know, even, you know, that's a maybe wishful thinking. But if we got 1,200 or 1,800 in the next 5 years, that's a win.
Yeah.
And part of that is putting legislation behind it that allows you to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, pavement to people. You know, the conversion. I mean, the conversion right there is going to save you 9% on the Peyton.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's
1.6 million.
That's real money.
Yeah.
You know, you probably wouldn't be able to do the project if you didn't have it.
So if we didn't have that or the MFT, we couldn't do the project.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
So
we wouldn't have done the project if we didn't have those. Yeah.
Yeah. So those incentives are what's going to help that for sure.
Yeah. Well, because it was funny. I was talking to Larry about his tower over there, and we go do the tour of the tower. But then half the explanation was all the other buildings and things that he's doing to make sure the tower stays clean.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the issue. It's like he has to plan ahead and buy all these other ones just so his parking lot can be right, so they can have the right security, that they can have the right pieces in there.
Yep.
And I think it's those kind of pieces of people coming back, taking ownership, and reinvesting again in downtown,
Right.
understanding that if we make downtown healthy, all their projects everywhere else are going to do better.
Well, and I think people have to understand too. Project, obviously, that's on the high end,
Highest, yeah.
of the scale, but we need that as much as we need anything else.
Right.
You know, what we really need is we need that market rate housing, that workforce housing. You know, from 80 to 120% AMI.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the majority of those units are going to come from, or within that bandwidth. But we need those high end products. If we didn't have the Upper Falls and the 809s and the Carnegies, you know, I mean, you need that mix.
Yeah. So how do you get them built? It's so expensive to build downtown. Like, how do we actually get? I mean, it's great to say we need 3,200 units, but there's no 10-acre site that you can sprawl out 3-story woody walk-ups.
Well, I think there's some parking lots around that could be used, but you know, I mean, right now, I think interest rates are the biggest challenge. I mean, to have said 3 years ago, can we build? I think 3 years ago it made sense. You know, if you could get money at 5%, 4.85 somewhere in there, you know, that's a huge difference. Our Normandy project that I have with Bobby, you know, what happened with that was we had it fully designed. We were going to build it in March of 2022, and then the Ukraine war broke out. Lumber prices were still really high, you know, and we basically said, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen. Let's just wait. We'll hold off, you know, hope for material things to come down. And of course, interest rates have gone crazy since. But the difference on that project is we would have had to bring another $10 million of equity because of the increase in interest rates to do that same project today. Yeah. And so that's just out of the cards.
Doesn't work. Yeah, and that's what we've faced on a lot of them. That's where most of my pinch came from, was how fast they moved in 22.
Yep.
And when you're a merchant builder, it every day counts. Every piece of an interest rate counts as you're trying to sell them.
Right.
And so, that was definitely tough to watch, because that's where, I mean, like anybody building now, you either paying cash or you're putting, we're putting 40, 50% down. And then your bet is that, hey, it's never going to get cheaper to do this. Eventually, we're going to absorb these units into our market, and then you're going to have rental demand again at the levels it was prior to 23.
Yeah, but I think, you know, even when there are downtimes like this, that's when you got to find opportunities. Yeah. You know, like you said, the Umpqua building.
Oh yeah, tell us about that one.
Yeah, no, we picked that one up, you know, pretty much for
nothing,
little to nothing. It's funny because, you know, we're pretty much opportunistic buyers. I kind of always say
comp.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
didn't help you in second, that's for sure.
Thanks for the comp.
But you know, I remember back in the Great Recession when we bought the New America building and the Cutter Tower. You know, that used to be occupied by Sterling Savings. That was their corporate headquarters. They were actually, Sterling had the Umpqua building. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then they were still fully occupied in the Cutter Tower.
Jeez.
And at the New America building. And so a couple of doctors out of Coeur d'Alene bought that, and they paid pretty good money back in the day. Yeah. And I don't remember what they paid for it, but you know, we can't. They wanted to. Sterling vacated the building.
Yeah.
These guys bought it as a coupon clipper, basically, and they were getting great rents out of Sterling until Sterling moved out of the building. Yeah. Now they have 2 completely vacant buildings, right? And so, you know, they just wanted to get rid of it, and you know, they started like $3 million on the market for those 2 buildings. We picked them up for $1.3 million. Jeez. You know,
crazy.
Corner of Riverside and Stevens, and then the 8-story tower. Of course, you know, then we flipped off the tower to Tommy, and Tommy developed the tower, and so our group owns that little New America building. But you got to find opportunities, you know, when things are, you know, down. You know, but the Umpqua building I think is a good one. I'm not sure what we're going to do with it yet, but
the Umpqua building is across from the Paulson, right?
No,
on the
across from Bank of America.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, you got the Peyton building and you got Bank of America building. It's just north of that.
Just north on the north side of it. It's it has cop shop. It has the precinct. Yeah, precinct in the first floor, right next to Method.
Yep.
Kind of right on that side.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So
what's the kind of the leading idea with it? Condos, or is it commercial? You think?
I don't know.
Like,
I've kind of ebbed and flowed.
Yeah.
There's a couple of opportunities out there that if one of them lands, will kind of dictate what we do.
Yeah, makes sense.
And we got it at a price where we still got two great tenants in there.
Yeah.
We got Columbia Bank is in there. They're in 20,000 feet, and then we got the cities on the main floor. So it cash flows and gives us a little bit of opportunity to figure out what we want to do with it. But we paid $26 a foot for the building.
Yeah,
So
I know.
sorry.
I know. It's all right. But I think there's also unfortunately it's not like every building's selling at 26. So it was an outlier. Just came up as a conversation across every.
It wasn't an
lender.
outlier. We worked hard, man.
Your price. I don't think every building sells at 26.
No. But they didn't want to sell it at 26.
No, nobody does.
So we worked pretty hard to get that. But then we bought the Norman and Jefferson.
Yep. I'm excited for that one.
That's a fun one because it's been vacant for 14 years. Yeah. It's crazy to think that through the cycles that any one
14 years.
Yeah.
I did remember hearing the group that might have been receivership from them, but the group that bought it before, they wanted to add 3 stories to the top, a glass, and I'm like, go for it. I'm pretty crazy, but that sounds crazy.
Just build what you got.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a pretty good buy on that one. But it'd been sitting there for 14 years. So through 3 years, I think. Is that
going to start this spring?
Well, if I can get through the city.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So we're in a stormwater battle with the city right now. So it's funny because they'll look at the Peyton, or they'll look at Roxy or Parkview, and they'll say, well, they had to put stormwater in, right, to retainage. And I'm like, show me the code. Where does it say that?
Yeah, they forced me to. Lolo had to put it in. I had to do an above ground tank.
It doesn't. It's not allowed. It's not required in the code. Nowhere in the code does it say you have to do it. Get the stormwater manual out, research it, look at it. It doesn't say it.
And there's stormwater in first.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll get through it, but we're kind of held up with the city on the permitting side right now. We were hoping to start, pretty much right about now, but probably be the first of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. The irony is there's a 2.5 million gallon stormwater runoff tank under Brick West. So I'm like, you're making me put in this thing? Yeah. But yeah, it's just funny though when they decide to pick and choose the code to apply and what hill to die on with it. And you're like, to your point, this building's been vacant for 14 years. It's a blight on that part of town. Let's activate it. Let's move out of our way to help Chris activate finally a vacant building. And it just doesn't.
We've got 5 other projects lined up. So this just happens to be the first one. Yeah. And so we're going to fight the fight.
Yeah.
Because you know what the code literally says?
I should read it.
It says we're exempt. It says if you're not disturbing the land, you are exempt from this code. Literally says it word for word. So you take anyone, you take the Peyton, you take
all of them,
any one of them.
I have to put 2 massive tanks.
Parkview, I mean, you dug up the ground to build Parkview, so I would say you probably was required to be there. But I would say Roxy, probably not.
Yeah.
Any one of those, because it literally says it's an exemption. If you're not disturbing the ground, you're exempt. So
yeah. And for everybody out there, it's literally they require a tank on your site, contained under or above ground, that collects all the rainwater and then slowly drips it into the stormwater system. So
which
kind of controls the flow.
It makes sense in theory, right? So that the system isn't overwhelmed, doesn't back up.
But not in an old building where you're limited on space.
But it's also existing. It's already there. We're not adding anything more to the system.
Yeah, it's been that way for 100 years.
It makes sense on new construction to say, hey, you need to handle it.
And you can because you're digging up the ground. You're doing all that stuff, which made sense. But
so that's kind of slowed us down a little bit. But hopefully by the first of the year.
Yeah, and it just adds to that area down there. And then what's cool is Jerry's done so much work down there too. But now you're going from outside the Greyhound building, from Monroe all the way to Maple, is this cleaned up kind of fun walkable stretch with breweries, restaurants, retail.
Yep.
I personally, obviously I live there.
So switching gears here a little bit, Chris, if you had, I don't know, company coming to town or friends or something, and you were going to take them around downtown, what would be your highlights?
Where would I go?
Yeah. What would you do? Where would you go?
I love Woodland City. I mean, I think they've done a great job. Honestly, it's one of the better places downtown. I was a big Zona fan because I was partners with Chad on Zona Blanca. So that was kind of the go-to. You get a top chef doing downtown. And so that was unfortunate set of circumstances with him and Zona over there. But really, the park is kind of the jewel of downtown, honestly. Anytime you can get to spend a weekend just checking out the park, that's what you need to do, and then, or if you can catch a Chiefs game or catch a concert over at the stadium or whatever. I mean, that's amazing how that North Bank has grown and what's happened over there. And, really you got to kind of look at that area as kind of the next opportunity for development
I
is
agree.
everything kind of just north of, north of what is it? Malin?
Yeah.
Malin?
Yeah, north of
Boone,
Mountain,
north of Boone.
north of Boone, and then just probably short of Mission where your Normandy site's at.
Yeah.
Like that's where I see the next target zone. Good
Yeah.
zoning for it. Bad soils, a lot of rock, but
Yeah.
but could be a good one.
But definitely the park.
Definitely the park. Is there any other areas of not even downtown? Is there any other areas of Spokane that you like for investment outside?
I'm
of
downtown. That's
You're
all
downtown.
I do. I mean, I got
Both
about.
of you
trying
guys
to
are
get Hilliard.
downtown
He's trying to
guys.
get
Yeah, I was
I
trying
got
to
about a
get
15 block radius.
Yeah,
I love
So-
and you know it well. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun to watch that development. I mean, there aren't a lot of buildings left like that haven't really been touched or have plans to be or just kind of waiting for the right.
So when we started in 2001, we literally drove downtown.
Yeah.
And looked at the buildings and counted them. And this sounds crazy because I know my number's right, but there was 96 properties that we thought we could do that needed to be done.
Yeah.
And that seems in my head, I'm like, that's a crazy high number. Is that even right? But I know it was. I mean, and I think we were
That's probably
excluding.
about right.
We were excluding the Legion building. We were
Yeah.
excluding the Davenport. We weren't going
Yeah.
to do that. That we've never been the big dog.
You
anyway.
guys have the names so well. What I want is a map of all the names of the buildings.
I think I
Oh,
can name every
I bet
building
he could
downtown.
actually.
I know it's impressive, but I'm also because I'm like, man, I've been in real estate for 20 years, but it's just not what I've played in. So I'm always
Yeah.
like, oh, the Umpqua building. Which one's the Umpqua?
Just
building,
wait till you have to give a tour to a group from New York and you're explaining downtown. So then that's how they're referencing it. Like they know the names. So you're trying to explain it.
Where do I
Yeah.
find all these names?
Oh, they're on the building. A lot of them are on the building.
Yeah, but I sort of
But that's it,
walking
right?
around,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
looking like
What's
they're wearing a
interesting-
name tag.
Another comparison to Boise.
Yeah.
Other than the obvious issues between the two, what I found most intriguing about Boise is it feels like a small town.
Yeah.
I mean, you come downtown Spokane, it feels like a big city.
Mhm.
I mean, you get down on Riverside, you've got the Paulson building or the U.S. Bank building. These are big buildings, but you go into Boise, it just feels a little flatter, a
Mhm.
little broader. It just doesn't feel like the big city Spokane is. And I don't know if that's a benefit or not. Boise feels a little bit more small town.
Yeah.
Mm.
And maybe, I don't know, that was just my perception of it.
Yeah, and once in the core,
Yeah.
once you get a little bit out of there, then that's where they started building
Right.
the taller, modern office and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah, I remember me and Whitney before Logan, one of our favorite dates was to go when it was Chow Mambo, and they had their patio there at the Liberty Building or
Yeah.
the Liberty Building, the white right there, and you'd sit out on that patio and get some Peronis and great pasta. But you look up and you look down Riverside, and it's just tall buildings, and to the right's the old post office, but you feel like you're sitting on a patio in like a big city. And I always thought that about Spokane, but it's a really small area, right? It's 83 blocks or whatever that is.
It's not huge.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because of those 96, there's 3, 4, 5 left, maybe. I don't know, or some of them it's time to redo them again. And there's not a lot of product left.
No, and unless you're going vertical, and that's what kind of I'm like, okay. And then once you have that, this commitment to it. It's now you're just waiting for the right incentives and pieces to go vertical. But
Yeah. Well, I think we've done 21 or 22
of that
registered projects downtown, so
Yeah.
maybe the 96 isn't too far off.
you did 25% of them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
right.
I'm like,
But they're all the little ones, honestly.
yeah, but it's the
Yeah.
little
I was going to
them.
say, what about these big ones that are?
So my favorite one, if
US
Peyton,
Bank.
if Peyton
Yeah.
works, I'd go after US Bank because I feel like I have a good formula now, and I feel like you could do a 3-type concept in there, like office, retail, condo, and rental.
It's got windows on all
That's
4
windows,
sides.
and you can have a
that's
cool.
that's the biggest thing there is those all the
Mhm.
glass on all 4 sides.
Yeah. So are you seeing the impact of the Clean Building Act on any of your buildings then?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like Umpqua probably Or is it-
Well,
was
we
it
haven't
new
gotten there.
enough?
It's not.
Okay.
It's
not big enough.
well, no, it is big enough, but it's 50% vacant. So
Oh.
it's right now it's
Oh.
falling under the threshold.
Yeah.
Holly Mason,
Yep.
we're feeling it over there. It's a challenge on any old building. And what they should have done, frankly, is exempt any registered
Yes.
property.
Yes, which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you want to support historic preservation, then you need to exempt those properties from this. I mean, they're 100 years old.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what would you have to do to real quick? Clean Building Act was Seattle passed. I always say Seattle passed the Spokane, but if you have to basically bring your whole building up to current energy standard or meet a test, if you don't, there's $1 per square foot penalty
per year.
annually.
regardless of
Per
if
year.
you're doing anything to it. Like not
Yeah,
if
so
you if like I'm not
occupied.
renovating it,
Yeah.
I'm not
So,
doing
like-
anything.
it's
It's
like
just
the US
I own
bank
the
building,
building, and now they're just going to come in and be like, you now have to improve your building.
Yeah, so big white U.S. bank building. I mean, it's 228,000 square feet. So every year she has to write a check for $250,000, or
That's
go pay the
insanity.
$15 million to upgrade the thing.
Yeah.
Which would be
Yeah,
How do they
and-
get away with that?
we're not sure.
Well,
That's insanity. That's gotta be
Seattle. It's
unconstitutional,
Seattle, you
man.
know, and I think I think there are supposed to be carve outs for that, but I mean, we're in a different climate than
Yeah.
Seattle is, and so
Correct.
our buildings are different than theirs, and you know, there's no way we're ever going to be able to meet those standards.
No, they
you
don't
know.
work.
Yeah, and there's other buildings out there. You know, River Park Square is having to go through it, and you think of that glass atrium right there. You know, I mean, what do you even
I didn't
do?
think about that.
What do you do? I don't know. Do you just pay the fine?
Yeah, I mean, because
You
what are you going to do? You're going to have to ramp up your HVAC so much the operating cost. It'd probably be cheaper.
Yeah.
To just pay a buck a foot fine, and then what's hard is it's a buck a foot on the building.
Yeah, but if they're triple net leases, you just pass
Yeah.
that down.
Jeez.
So-
Still.
But it's like those things where you're like, I don't know. I just remember thinking so naively, like just buy a rental and then retire. Like get a rental, get some cash flow, keep it going. And then the more I get into these buildings, there's just so many expenses, daily decisions. Like there's nothing passive about a commercial building.
Yeah.
As much as
Mhm.
I try to think there is, like every day I'm dealing with something new.
Well,
And
we've always looked at these renovation projects as, you know, you got to buy them right because it's all about the next dollar.
Yeah.
It's what it costs to do them.
Yeah.
And it's always more than you think it is. It's going to take longer than you think it will. You know, it's just, yeah, they're a challenge, but I think they're worth doing.
They're
too.
worth doing. I love. Yeah.
I mean, you know, my favorite historic building downtown is the Legion building.
Yeah.
And Steve Schmatz did something that nobody else would ever do. So if you look at that building, it used to be have a
Which
flat-
building? Just for people's
The
reference?
Legion building.
Yeah.
On Washington and Riverside.
Okay.
So the tall, cool, it peaks up at the top with hip
With
roofs.
a mansard roof
Yeah.
up at the top.
Yep.
So that used to be the Spokane Club at the top of that building.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, back in the day, and then it burned down, and the top floor burned down.
Really?
So when Steve bought it, it was a flat roof. So he rebuilt that whole mansard system on that thing, and nobody else would have ever have done that. I am convinced of it, and he built it back to what it
Yeah.
was, and it's a fabulous. He did a great job.
Oh, it's great. It's one really cool building.
Yeah. So
Favorite building. I haven't even thought about that one. So I'll take my time to come up with that one.
all right,
Yeah,
Uh,
I have no idea.
So I have a few favorite. I loved Peyton actually from the beginning. I've always loved the Peyton building.
it's a
So
good building.
that was
How do you feel about the SDA Plaza there?
so. For how we designed the Peyton was so it's an internal ecosystem is what I'm going to call it. So you could exist within the building, from dog washing to entertainment areas to work areas to workout areas to food options to business. That will all be an amenity space in there. And so for me, I think one day parking is going to be cost prohibitive, like it is in even some spots of Boise, some different areas where transit will make sense at that level. And so for me, it's kind of a non-factor because they've stepped up their kind of patrols of stuff. And we have a couple cool ideas for Post Street that
Oh yeah,
I'll announce on here.
Yeah, no,
well,
that's-
you know, but
that's
like,
pretty cool. Yeah,
actually you both know, but I'll announce them on there because if we can do that, then that is what Boise did.
yeah, it's like
You just
8th
control the
Avenue.
zones. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I like it. I think it's going to be a unique living experience for people where you can still have a garage to park in if you want that, or you could have no
Or
car.
at River Park Square.
That's what I'm working on it now. Yeah.
Okay.
So either there or the Davenport didn't work because of they need overnight parking.
And do you have skywalks that connect all that?
So in
Yeah.
theory, your living experience could be that you live there, go across the skywalk. I'd make Bank of America open theirs again. Let's say you work there. You go to Bank of America, go to work, come back, go back down the skywalk, go to the mall, grab dinner at Twigs, go catch a movie, and then catch it back.
So Peyton, you'd have to go from there through the plaza.
Yep.
To get to the
Either
rest
way,
of
it's the
the
plaza.
system.
Yep, you got to go.
Yeah.
But we have a second floor connection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so
you
you
have to
could
go
come
through the
out
plaza.
that back, but you got to go through. But the second floor is great because they've closed it down to access only. So
Temporarily.
we'll see how
Yeah.
temporary.
So
We'll
I
see.
mean, well, we've got the other skywalk going
But-
over
but
to
it-
Umpqua.
But I think it's working, and so
So I shut mine down.
yeah. Did you?
Yeah, I know Bank of America did too. Not because I don't want it open, but because
Well, why
you know,
would
they
you
were-
have
they
it
were
open?
vandalizing it.
Yeah.
It was getting destroyed.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I think STA needs to take some ownership
Yeah.
in that case. And if it was restricted access and people, you know, only people who needed to be there got up there, that'd be one thing. But right now it's just a free for all.
Yeah, my hope is that they start seeing some of the wins of those parts of it, and then have it, because that's what I pictured when I did it. I was like, I remember when I got out of school, I would have loved to live downtown, but like I couldn't afford it. And so these will offer where they're not going to be like cheap, but they'll be, if you somehow could mitigate not having a car, not having insurance, kind of moved around that way, all of a sudden it's the cost to live. The rent may not be the cheapest, but our cost to live there will be more affordable than most areas.
Right.
And they'll have 12-foot ceilings. The windows, some were like 10 by 8.
It's got great windows.
It's going to be so cool. And then if I
what's going on the east side of the building? Because you have no windows on the east side, right?
The east side, yeah, so nothing. Yeah. The only thing I have is I had enough of a setback to do a cantilever, well, not cantilever, a fixed deck. And so we're going to put a pet area, a covered pet area. So you'll come out a door and then you'll have a 20 by 15, 300 square foot, kind of turfed dog area. And then inside we have right around the corner, there will be like a dog wash station. So you can basically have grooming.
I mean, going up the whole east side.
I'm going to stack maybe condensers in there or something. Okay. Nothing for now.
Okay.
So there's a couple windows that are already in there. Those will stay. Those will just be unit specific, but nothing on the east side. Okay. So I'm going to try to maybe do something like artistic, maybe like some mural, something like, so there's some cool look, because you see it right away coming down Riverside there. So.
Okay.
But yeah, and so the idea is you can basically live there and have everything you want in there. And so like the top floor, we have this massive skylight garden area, library. And so the cool part is the budget we should be able to do all that stuff, not compromise it.
So what's your next project after the Peyton?
Oh, I told Whitney I'd retire, so I'm out.
Yeah, right.
This last 2 years gutted me, man.
Like 6 months.
I know. Yeah, that's what Keith told me he was out too. His was 90 days.
Yeah, mine will
at least be 100 days. But no, I think you kind of learn the system there, and I think if I can prove out the rents, that'll be it. Yeah. If I can prove out the rents, then I don't think I'd go smaller. I think
I'd go big.
Well, because I already have the systems. You already know how to implement it. I already have the lenders. So for me, if it worked, it'd be like target something like the U.S. Bank building. Yeah. Spend a few years doing that one, and then
that's a big bite.
It's a huge bite.
Yeah.
But it's a big bite. But if done right and acquired at the right price, I think it's actually could be more lucrative.
Oh, I think so. And it's got to be at the right price too.
Yeah, and that'll be the issue. Yeah. So, but no, I'm just a big believer. I just go downtown Boise and I see what some of those buildings sell for, and I look at like a little Lolo Lofts, 19 units, cool condo style, right? And that's $8 million down there, $9 million.
They got one for sale?
No, but that's the kind, right? But that's what it would be, because it's just that town embraced it and grew up around it. But what if we have the 2016 downtown again? Yeah. But now we have a North Bank with entertainment. We have tourism. We have.
Oh, could you imagine what it would be like if it was 2016, 2017, and the North Bank was built out?
But it will be.
Oh, it will be.
It will be. I think that's the one I'm seeing in it. And now is like, because even Brick West took a little bit to come back after all that. But now you go down for our Fall Fest down there, and there's 800 people. Yep. And everybody complains about no parking. And that's why I use Brick West as an example. I'm like, it has no parking, and we accommodate that many people. So build a business people would come to and walk for a minute.
Right.
And I think when you do in Norman Jefferson, the Coles one day doing even something to that Greyhound site,
they'll do something.
That chunk right there, and then. So
I think they'll go vertical on that.
Yeah, which would be awesome. So
I always like the building itself as something, but it's gone. Yeah. Far enough.
And it's a huge block. Like you could do a really cool one. So the other one, if you have put in a good word with Doug Yost and Betsy for me, is I would love to tackle the Chancellery building and turn it into like 8 condos, just under 12. That would be a cool one too.
It's a cool building.
Yeah, and then that's what I'd move to. So, anyways, I could go on.
Well, yeah, I know we could do this all day.
All right, guys.
Chris,
awesome.
Thanks for coming.
Good to meet you.
Absolutely.
Nice to meet you, Jordan. Thank you.
As always, sir.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much. That's it. It's a wrap. Thank you, Brian. All right, you guys. Thanks for listening to today's episode. While you're out there, would you please do us a favor and give us a like, subscribe, or a follow, whether you listen on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube. We'd really appreciate it. Also, if you don't mind while you're there, give us a 5-star review. Maybe write a review. If you have a favorite episode, feel free to give it a like. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.